Hello ladies and gentlemen, SeKo Starcraft bringing you some pro replays. We have HeroMarine versus Strelok, FXO versus Mouz Sports. I believe this is from a recent tournament for Go for SC2. I'd have to double check again. But regardless, it is a terran versus terran on Newkirk. I used to hate this map so unbelievably much, but then I started getting a little bit better at playing actual macro games and smarter strategies, and now it's not really that bad. Particularly if you're playing Terran, it's really about position. So many important positions that you can take to deny third bases, to be able to siege up and do damage into the base. This version of the map has much less real estate inside the base, so it's quite likely to do that. And this air distance in the middle makes banshee, harass, and drops super common. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see either of those strategies out of these players. We do have a gas going down for HeroMarine. And I think we might... No, it's still going to just be a barracks right now. It's just a little bit of a faster barracks. Not going to be going for that really fast gas. So we might be seeing Banshee play here out of HeroMarine, where Strelok looks like he's going to be going a little bit more macro-oriented. I was playing a game on this map recently against a Terran player whose entire strategy was to just one base, build as much army as he could into medevacs, and then drop. Happily, I scouted that and built like 12 turrets and dealt with it quite well. But I thought it was really interesting. I haven't seen one base mega drop Terran since like Wings of Liberty beta, essentially, when I was playing at the Bronze and Silver League level. It's like, well, if I just put everything into medevacs and just walk into your base and drop and hit your production facilities, I just win, right? And generally that can be the case as Terran players have all their army up to one side, not guarding their base. I should count how many times I watch a game and there's a pause that happens. It seems super common that I'm watching pro games and there's pausing. We have a wall off here pretty quick from Strelok, which is going to deny a lot of scouting. Orbital command, a little bit ahead of HeroMarine here. He did decide to go for that gas faster. Strelok did scout that factory, and the positioning of this factory over here usually means you're going to drop a starport and put down yourself some banshee harass. One marine running across the map. Not too sure if he intends on getting much damage done. Back on this side, we have a bunch of money banking up here. Ooh, and a Reaper too. I think he's going to go for a little bit of happy pressure, which I don't mind. I think it's actually really cool. This Marine with a couple of Reapers and one SUV actually can be pretty damaging. I'm interested in seeing the timings of the gas on going for a Banshee build, just because if you take all of your gases too soon, sometimes that can be a really big problem. Woo! Almost lost that other Reaper. Still building Marines, so we should be able to deflect this double Reaper play well enough. This Banshee will be able to transfer over and should be able to get Cloak started here right away, but I don't know if he's going to go... No, he should have enough for a Cloak and a Banshee. Yep. Oh, Banshee's just 100 as well. For some reason I thought a Banshee was higher than that, so... Good little damage there, I don't mind that at all. Back on this side, the engineering bay is going down. Looks like it's going to be down just in time, essentially. The problem with going this strategy of the macro is that this Banshee could do a lot of damage. It's going to be a long time before a Viking and a Raven get out to be able to mitigate this attack. I like the opening by Strelok here. If he can deflect this Banshee with Cloak well enough, I think he'll be okay. Got that turret right in the middle. Banshees can still kind of be assholes and pick away at stuff around the base. Ooh. Does get away. This Hellion is going to try to chase it down. Doesn't find them, so it's just going to return home. Should be seeing that command center pop down here right away. Quite a ways behind Strelok. So once again, if he can deflect this Banshee without taking a lot of damage, as we see the Viking on the way, he'll actually be in a great position. We see this Banshee actually heading towards where the production buildings is, as opposed to the mineral line. likely assuming that the mineral line will already be in jeopardy. Obviously, two-shotting Marines is pretty worthwhile activity. Shooting down the reactor is pretty cool. It's not like that is the best use of a Banshee and Cloak, though. You might as well do the damage you can, but it'll be a while before you can say that this Banshee really paid for itself. That scan helps. If you can use up... Oh, almost ran right back into the scan again. That'd have been funny. Banshee's got quite a bit of energy here still. Oh, I don't think he's gonna get it. Maybe one more shot. What? What happened to that last shot? Did it just completely whiff? This Banshee should be outdoing stuff. Oh, he does get it at the end of it because the scan energy ran out. So supplies are pretty even here. If we look at the actual workers, I mean, there's a bit of a lead for HeroMarine. He must have been more diligent in making them. If we look at resources taken down, there really hasn't been any loss there. I'm just assuming that Strelok was a little bit too flustered trying to micro against that. Oh, don't scan. He might not have any scan energy. Yes, he does. Wasting those scans is still very worthwhile. Wow, those missiles don't hit once it gets outside of scan energy. That's really strange. Doesn't make any sense to me either. So going with the Banshees and it's going to move into a Raven. Very standard. Usually that's there to counter the other opponent's Banshees. But in this case, I think it's just good to have a... It's nice to just have a Raven anyways. They're just such a useful unit in almost any circumstance. PDD, not really that important in early game TVT. But being able to throw down some of those auto defense turrets, those are just a pain in the ass. Detection never goes old. And secret missile being so cheap makes it very worthwhile. That's a really nice kill for that Banshee there. It does deny that construction. Now it's finished up. Oh, not that time it didn't get away. So, worthwhile. Killed 6 workers. We actually just look at the units lost. HeroMarine lost a lot more in resources because of how expensive those Banshees are. So, it's hard to say if it's really worthwhile. If we look at the units tab there, he does have a lead on workers overall and a lead on supply. So that might have just been what he really wanted to do in order to kind of get this lead up and in place. Already off into making Vikings 2 at a time here to get that air superiority. So we see HeroMarine really wanting to transition to that age-old Marine tank Viking play that we've seen forever out of Terrans. I do enjoy seeing Mech, however, so I'm very happy to see Strelok. Strelok, I've watched a few of his games lately. Big fan of the Mech. And this is actually a really tough spot for Strelok, because he only has out this one tank so far, against his opponent who's got 4 and more in production. 2 more factories as well. Wow, it's going to be Mech on Mech. And here I thought it was going to be Biomech. So it looks like he's just going to have a handful, just a sprinkling of Marines to supplement a much more mech-focused army. Those hybrid armies are somewhat fun to use. Blue Flame on the way nice and early. Likely predicted that HeroMarine was going to stick with Marines. And having that Blue Flame in place is really important when you're dealing with those balls of Marines that charge in to take out your tanks. I think spitting out the Widow Mines, very useful. He is going to get intercepted, maybe. Maybe. This would be, it's really close. Wow. Completely miss each other. That's really funny. One Widow Mine out here with a kill. These Marines have a really good idea of what's coming out at him. Just checking for all the third bases, whereas we see HeroMarine already has a third base up and operational. Focusing on that gas. As a meching player, you really want to get that gas in place. I do really like the position that HeroMarine is in. I think he's got his economy out faster. He's going to get air superiority. Point defense drone, obviously very important in those Raven battles. And then moving into this really good mech production as well. Blue Flame and upgrades on the way. Whoop, drop. Almost missed that. And I know people would be upset if I happened to miss too much of that. 9 workers killed in that. That was pretty effective. Not super huge use of money, but just to put that pressure on, screw things up a little bit. Can't go wrong. One Marine's just going to come over here as a bit of a scout. I like the position of that Widow Mine. Will deny any type of base going over there too soon. So I'm expecting these players to kind of sit back, get supply block like Strelok is, get out somewhere probably around that 160 supply. But the problem is that if you wait for your opponent to get a better position, for instance, if HeroMarine gets out a better tank count and Vikings and can take this kind of high ground position around this third base, he's going to be doing so good. That Viking count that he has to control the air, if we look at the total Vikings, it's 6-3 plus the Raven. I think that's what HeroMarine wants to do right now, is he sees an opportunity to take control of that high ground space and is going to push forward for it. FXO Strelok, seeing that coming, does not want to let his opponent get this high ground. Plenty of energy here for a PDD on these tanks. They are clumped up. Might not be a bad idea, but instead he's just going to pull back, losing the position that he really wanted to gain there. No more Vikings in production for Strelok. I don't disagree with this landing them, because if he gets caught by this number, he'll lose them all very quickly. Nice spread of Marines. I do like that HeroMarine is doing this. They don't cost a lot of supply to be able to get that kind of vision. Scanning to see if that high ground is taken. It is not. Scans the army. Doesn't know that there's stuff in the medevac, obviously. Oh no. Oh, Thors. Looks like the siege up happened for Strelok first, but without Viking control, he doesn't have the ability to really take that vision. Oh, the stack! Pretty good damage there. The Thors are a bit of a trouble, though. If you try to run in your tanks into range and take it on, that could be a big problem. I do like that instead of trying to go for mass Viking superiority, Strelok did just go into the Thors, which are quite useful. The Viking numbers, if they take that kind of splash damage like we see there, it becomes a big problem. Both these players do need all their scans. We see the extra command centers going down everywhere, likely be turned into orbitals because that vision is so important. Keep scanning each other so that way if they ever move, you can very, very quickly dart over and take that better position. Bringing in a handful of SCVs to repair this stuff up. Might as well. Land the Vikings, at least. Land the Vikings? There you go. That's really funny. Strelok is pretty much maxed out at the same time as HeroMarine. Wants to try to get a flank in place. I don't think he sees this coming. His Hellbats are in the back, unfortunately. The siege up for Strelok is first. There's no siege up here. He is going to drop some Hellbats right on top of the army. Wow, this is pretty brutal. I've not seen too many Terrans just want to run their tanks headlong into this, particularly with the Thors in there. That didn't even seem that close. HeroMarine came out way on top, even though there was the siege up there for Strelok. Just didn't have the tank count. What are the upgrades at? 0-1 versus 0-1. So that wasn't the deciding factor here, but somehow we have a 50, so about 40 supply lead. Ooh, nice Widow Mine hit there. Lands the Vikings. Doesn't really have much need for them. Is he going to siege up? Nope. Now he's going to siege up a handful here. Does need to take out that tank on the high ground. Does get it. These tanks are pretty badly beaten up, and if there were medevacs out for Strelok, he could build some drops in here. Do pretty good with all those Vikings gone. Might lose a handful of these tanks, just getting sieged up later. Fourth bases are up for both players, but Strelok is actually kicking into gear, income-wise. Not ahead, necessarily. do have a pretty equal amount of workers. I do like this drop idea. I think that's going to turn out really well. You want to try to get into position. The upgrades are fairly similar, but with the medevacs here, they might... Oh, those are tanks in there. I thought they were going to be hellbats for just dropping. It's kind of a risk to do there with a handful of tanks. One good medevac drop will eventually just, you know, shut that down. There we go. There's the drops. Yeah, it's a bit of an investment for tanks, and he really didn't get much damage done. Still got that one Widow Mine over there, just being a dickhead. Strelok has closed the supply gap pretty good here. Production of tanks and hellbats has been pretty strong. Once again, there's no anti-air anymore. Oh no, Strelok, watch your Even more command centers dropping down for HeroMarine. Still alive. There we go. He finally kills off that Widow Mine that was being a pest. Is going to rally around behind, try to get a good high ground advantage into that mineral line. I've seen Strelok love doing the Thor micro. It is quite effective. Oh, that's pretty much GG. Try to break the contain, and I think he dropped just a little bit too late. He's gonna get pretty close. These tanks up here, though, however, they're not in range really of the mineral line. I think he might be able to clean up a fair bit of this. There's the drop. I say he needs to get in there with the drop. Vikings in play. They're not going to be able to shut this down in time, though. Actually does take care of almost all of that drop just with the tank splash. HeroMarine's going to keep the pressure up. What's his production at right now, structure-wise? 6 factories. Gained 7, so it seemed like the production is the issue for Strelok, and he had the money. I think just the favorable engagement went more to our Mouz sports player. Oh. Yeah, that's GG. I was about to say, well, does he have a chance to get back in with his base? Not if there's 2 blue flame hellbats being dropped on his mineral line. Upgrades wide at the end. 2-0 versus 2-1 with +3 on the way. Once again, very similar production, very similar income. I just think that HeroMarine had much better timed aggression, took the better engagements when he needed to, and that was really the deciding factor here. That was game 1 in a best of 3. I should have the other games for you guys here before you know it.